Now it's begun.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm very honored to read something from my mother about my beautiful uncle, Robin. Our brothers and sisters are there with us. Guys! Our brothers and sisters are there with us from the dawn of our personal stories to the inevitable dusk. I'm reading this letter for my mom, Jeannie. It is her letter of great gratitude for her only brother's life, Richard Robin Seward, March 8th, 1934 to October 28th, 2013. My darling, dearest brother Rob, on October 28th, 2013, you slipped away from us in your usual quiet manner, through the doors of death to the other side, without even a gentle goodbye to any of us. You wanted to do it alone and in your own way, after having enjoyed an early morning cup of tea. However, I was most surprised that you didn't wait until after your breakfast. For you, my dearest brother, have always loved your food so very, very much. A trait you must have inherited from our dear father, who was also a foodie, not a term used in his life. I like this quote. A brother is the first male friend in your life. No one will ever understand your craziness like your brother. Even if you don't get together as much as you'd like, he always remains your friend. While people come and go in your life, a brother will always be in your heart for a lifetime. I was conceived after you, my dearest Robin, had suffered from meningitis at the age of 8 and also fallen out of a car. Both of these events, I think, were within the space of about 1 year. Meningitis was still a killer disease in the early 1940s, however. Because of the invention of penicillin, you survived it. Our mom said that before you had this illness, you were the most amazing speller, but afterwards not quite so great. You also had fallen arches on the bottom of your feet afterwards, but they never stopped you from walking courageously on so many rocky paths in your nearly 80 years of life. Our mother said that she was driving her car near Chase Farm in Hazelmere, and you were playing with the car door handles, curiosity being one of your many wonderful traits. The next moment you were lying sprawled in a pool of blood on the road. Mom picked you up from the ground, and I remember her saying that your blood soaked through her brand new navy and white spotted silk dress. However, as was your way, your quiet courage allowed you once again to pull through in the face of adversity. When you were told you were going to have a baby brother or sister, you of course wanted a baby brother to play with. You were only 10 years and 3 days old when I, Jean Leslie Seward, was born. Quite understandably, you were very disappointed. Our parents, however, were totally thrilled that I was a little girl. I am not entirely sure that you ever completely got over this disappointment. However, I am forever thankful for the fact that I got to have you as my big brother. And for nearly 70 years, I have been blessed with you in my life. Maya Angelou said, I don't believe an accident of birth makes people's sisters and brothers. It makes them siblings, gives them mutuality of parentage. Sisterhood and brotherhood is a condition people have to work at. Throughout the years, I feel that we have worked at sisterhood and brotherhood. They say that people come into our lives for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And lifetime relationships teach us lifetime lessons. So, what lifetime lessons have you taught us? As a lifetime heart and soulmate, I am one of the few people who have known you for nearly 7 decades. It is strange to think that one person has been with me for so long, caring for me from far across the world, but always the same quiet, gentle, patient, deep-thinking, intelligent, courageous, curious, funny, dry-humored, creative, kind and loyal man. I am proud to call you my brother, Robin Seward. You always had great courage in the face of so much sadness in your life. Your and Lou's beloved youngest son, Thomas, killed at the young age of 18 in 1992 in a road traffic accident. And also your beloved eldest son, Martin, dead at the too early age of 40 in 2007 from the stage of a stage 4 melanoma. What great courage both you and Louise had to carry on living. And now, thankfully, you no longer have to suffer courageously from progressive supranuclear palsy, PSP, a disease that you lived quietly with for the past few years, suffering through a daily downward spiral of human indignity. though sometimes not quite so quietly, as you often told this dreadful disease to F off in no uncertain terms. You were very kind in so many ways. You were a kind husband and father, thinking always of Lou and your children, first and foremost, also extending that kindness to John and I and our 4 children, making room not only in your heart, but also in your home. How did we all fit into Cedar Drive or Woodlands Crescent when we descended upon you for holidays from Canada? You were also thoughtful to our mom and dad, Megan and Dick, when life took them down the paths of life-destroying illness. Kind also to many others, whether it was as a young Boy Scout leader for many years in Pulborough, or as a historian for the Bracknell Forest Society, where you were also able to be creative with pruning clippers in one hand on every walk we took together. And more recently, you were so kind, dignified, and caring to all the wonderful caregivers who have been coming to assist you daily. Of course, you were especially fiercely loyal and loving to Louisa. She was the true center of your life, your mainstay, your anchor, and the #1 person in your life for over 50 years. I still remember meeting her for the first time when she was only 18, on your very first date with her, a double date you shared with me and my current sweetheart. That loyalty and love also extended to your children, grandchildren, and to John and I and our children. And it was also there for Lou's sisters and family and your friends. Robin, you were a quiet and deep-thinking man, often saying no more than no comment. But when you did speak, you were the most mindful with your words. A born teacher with a brilliant intellect, you worked as a teacher for many years at International Computers Limited, teaching others all about these newfangled things called computers in the late 1960s and early 70s. With your dry sense of humor, you often laughed that your grandchildren could now teach you more about computers than you ever did. You were a deeply logical, philosophical thinker. I remember you telling me that there are as many stars in our cosmos as there are grains of sand on our beautiful Earth. You were fascinated by a huge range of subjects and a voracious reader of books. You were an obsessive historian and researcher of our Seward family history. And now we all thank you so very much for your work, even though at times we were driven crazy by your devoted enthusiasm to this particular subject. Amazingly enough, you did it at a time when there was no such thing as Google. From an early age, you were a lover of classical music, and you always had a large collection of music with you wherever you lived. I think perhaps it was your own form of meditation. You were usually very patient and had an acceptance of what was. And behind that patience, there were often deep emotions unexpressed to us or to the world. But you were always very patient with me, even though we were the yin and yang of personalities. At times, I must have driven you to the greatest of distractions. However, you would just say again, no comment. But I know that in spite of our different viewpoints of the world, underneath it all, we understood each other very deeply. You were creative in so many ways, with both your ideas and your wonderful, skilled hands. You love to work with wood and have created some wonderful pieces of furniture, children's toys, garden creations, and woodwork. Robin's nest, I am sure, will be there for your great-grandchildren to play on and enjoy in the years to come. And now your neighbors will no longer need to be afraid of your famously creative pruning shears. How you love to pluck away at anything growing that you thought was in the way, either on Woodland Crescent, Cedar Drive, or even the Bracknell public footpaths. We shall all miss that quiet giggle behind your back at your pruning creativity. And Lou will no longer have to tell you to stop doing that, Robin. You were one of the first people in my life to teach me about life's many losses. When you were 18 years old, you left us for Southern Rhodesia for 3 years to join the South African police force. I had lost my big brother. As a pacifist, you and our parents did not want you to go across to the other side of the world to fight in the Korean War in the early 1950s. When we met you off the boat from Southern Rhodesia at the Southampton docks 3 years later on a damp, foggy morning in 1955, I didn't really know or understand who this 21-year-old was, who had returned back home to England. You then had to complete 2 years of your national service, which you did with flying colours as a commissioned officer in the Royal Air Force. How proud we all were of you receiving your officer's commission on the Isle of Man in 1957. It is said that when conditions are sufficient in the waters of the ocean of life, one shows oneself as a wave. When conditions are no longer sufficient, we no longer show ourselves as a wave. We just disappear back into the ocean of life. If you truly love someone, you never want them to suffer. None of us ever wanted you to suffer, dear Robin. So, because I truly love you, how can I say goodbye to you, my dearest only brother? How can I tell you how much you really mean to me? How can I tell you how much your sweet caring and love has meant to us all? All I can do is thank you for being a big part of all of our lives, through all of the laughter and all of the tears, and know that you are still with us all in the ultimate ocean of life. We are all heartbroken that you are gone. As one of my dear children wrote to me recently, we will all miss the mumbling historian pottering around the garden. I suspect he was misunderstood by many, but to us he was big-hearted, funny, and very bright. I can only echo those words. We will all miss you. But I know that you are still with us, in our hearts and minds, and will be forever. Now we can all reach out our hands to you and say, goodbye, dearest, wonderful Robin. We love you, and thank you for just being you. You were beautiful. You were yourself. Rest now in peace, our dearest one.
Wow. That's beautiful.